What's up, guys, and welcome to a first part in a new video series. And what we're going to be doing in this series is going through topping the DPS. And how do you top the DPS? I've had a lot of people ask me, are fire mages the best DPS class? What is the best DPS class? And the answer is Blizzard has done a very, very good job with balance. To the point where if you're not in a high top end guild, and your gear is pretty much within 5 to 7 item levels of the people in your raid group, if you're doing your job better than them, you're going to pull better DPS, period, end of story. I have seen it done, and as you'll see in some of the clips later, exactly how this works, okay? The first thing that you need to understand when pulling your top DPS, and this episode is called Knowing Your Encounter. I'm going to have 3 different clips playing behind me, and just understand what you're looking for in the clips, okay? The first clip that plays is Majera, and in the Majera clip, what you're going to see is a proper opener. Now, not everything goes according to plan, especially when you're playing an RNG class like a mage, but the biggest thing that you want to know when doing your opener is, am I popping my cooldowns immediately? How soon do I have to pop my cooldowns? Is it worth me popping my cooldowns on this encounter? And again, the reason that there might be is there ads that come up that need to die very quickly? Is there abilities that I need to watch out for to where I'm not going to be able to do optimal DPS during my cooldowns being up? On a fight like Majera, where you have the very first head up and you're popping your cooldowns, especially for me, the thing that I worry about is, am I going to have some of my combustion ticks chopped off due to the fact that the boss sometimes does not live long enough to see that, especially in LFR or in normal mode. Sometimes this will happen. So the biggest thing that I want you guys to see in this video is this is just a proper single target opener in the Majera clip, and there's really not much else to worry about during that phase. Again, you're going to watch your cooldowns. As soon as you have your cooldowns up and you're popping your cooldowns, you're just really tunneling into the boss. Now, if you're playing specs that aren't a mage, say a warlock or a shadow priest or whatever, and you know that, you know, I have all these cooldowns, here's how I pop them on this fight, it works better if I'm double dotting, you know, does it work better if I'm spreading certain things, or where I'm standing, or where I put cleave damage, or anything to make my single target damage higher. This is where that comes into play, okay? Same thing on multi-target fights. And in the second clip, I have Horadon playing, okay? And on the Horadon clip, what I want you guys to be looking for in that, you can go ahead and watch this back and kind of slow it down. But the biggest thing during the Horadon clip is you'll see that I'm on the bottom, I'm not even on the meters in our group, and this was during a heroic progression attempt, okay? And then as you see the ads come out, and remember, during the Horadon, the first door, you'll see everybody pop their cooldowns at the beginning at Horadon, when Horadon's not taking any extra damage, okay? But as a fire mage, I know that if I can spread combustion to multiple targets, my damage is going to soar. So by the time the clip is done, you see me going from not on the meters to the top of the meters, because I'm learning the encounter and how to play my class appropriately. And when you're going through attempts, guys, especially on normal mode or any progression fight, it doesn't matter. If you're progressing on a fight, each pull, the reason that it's a pull is because it should be a learning opportunity. You should never do a pull the same way until you've figured out exactly how to master it. And even then, you're going to find certain tweaks or certain things that worked better or didn't work, okay? So for me, on like Heroic Horadon, for instance, we put a ton of attempts on him to the point where I had figured out throughout the course of attempts that if I save my cooldowns for that first phase, for when the ads come up, I actually do better DPS. And it's evident in the pull that you'll see behind me, and this is how we ended up getting it down, was because my ad damage was incredibly high during this, okay? It's the same thing with any fight, is as you do more attempts, understand your class abilities and understand the encounter. The encounter is the biggest thing. What parts of this encounter will benefit me for DPS? Okay, it's all you're thinking about the entire time. Like for the third clip, I have Council, okay? And for Council, it was an LFR pull, so they didn't do the pull right because they didn't stack everybody up at the beginning, but I saved my Infernal Blast. Now, why did I save my Infernal Blast after I had popped my combustion or my cooldowns? Because I knew that if they drug him to another boss, the person that had my combustion, or if the electrocution guy came over, I could spread my combustion and then get double dots, right? And that's the biggest thing, is you want to make sure that you're doing as much damage as you can. Now on fights like Council, when pulled right, you'll see fire mages do 600,000-700,000 DPS burst spots, okay? And the reason that you'll see that is because they can spread their combustion to all the targets with heroism up, etc., etc., to the point where you're going to see some very, very high numbers from boomkins, warlocks, and fire mages on that fight are going to have insane high damage if it's pulled properly and everything's stacked up. But again, guys, it's knowing the encounter and knowing how different mechanics work, okay? The biggest thing with knowing encounters is knowing a certain couple of things, like Jinrock, for instance. Let's take Jinrock, for instance. You don't want to pop your cooldowns until after you're in the pool, right? Because you can pop them before, and you might do a pretty good burst because you'll have all your trinkets lined up and everything else, but you also lose that huge damage buff that you get from standing in the pool. And you need to understand that. Are my cooldowns going to be back up so that I can optimally make progress and make better DPS while standing in this pool? Or are they going to be down to the point where I'm not going to get that much of a benefit out of the pool? Because remember, when we're stacking cooldowns on top of damage increases, remember, we're going for those big waves in World of Blobs, right? We're going for the big waves. We're not going for the little DPS increases. We want those just monster crests where we're doing just insane damage. And remember, guys, on a pull, you're always going to be doing high damage on a pull because you're going to have all your trinkets procced. You're going to have your first pop procced. You're going to have everything that you can proc, all of your professions, if you have unused professions, or like for me, for my enchanting and my tailoring, my light weave embroidery, that's up at the beginning. Like I have all this stuff at the beginning, your weapon enchant, so you're going to be doing high damage, right? So if you can get away with using a smaller cooldown, if you have multiple cooldowns, maybe you do that. But for Jinrock, like, we wait till the first puddle is there, then we pop hero, then we go into it. Why? Because we know that during the encounter that I will get more DPS if I'm stacking everything that I have and then burning the boss at that time when I have the most damage coming out. Let's take another fight, for example. Oh gosh, what's another really good fight to where knowing your mechanic can be a huge difference in the amount of DPS that you do, okay? Fight like Primordius, you'll see huge damage, but again, that's RNG, okay? You need to obviously know that you need to be fully mutated before you start doing a ton of damage, but not that big of a deal. Twin Consorts, again, knowing that you can double dot when the Sun Lady comes up, you know that then you can double dot, right? Suen. Let's see, what other ones are there that are really good for, like, knowing how to DPS. I would say even on Primordius, once you are fully mutated and you're tunneling into the boss, when you're not, you know, multi-dotting ads, making sure that ads are dying, but also understanding that it's a multi-target fight. So that first little bit, if you're good at multi-dotting, maybe try that. Maybe see if your numbers overall are going up by doing some of that and maybe killing more than one ooze at a time instead of just tunneling into one. You might see more of a DPS increase for your class. Again, Horadon with the ads is a good one. Tortos, getting DPS on those turtles. If you have time to put some cheese damage onto those bats and then getting back onto the boss. You know, there's different ways in every encounter that as you get comfortable with your class, you will do more DPS. And that's the first part of this video, guys. That's the first part of this series, is how to top DPS. Is don't worry about your class. If you know your class and you understand how your class works and you're going through and saying, well, what talents and glyphs should I be using for this encounter? Because they will switch almost every encounter, okay? Is there a better mitigation? Can I go a little bit more aggressively talented in glyphs so that I don't have as much survivability, but maybe I can do a touch more damage because I save an extra GCD or two by not having to use these other abilities, etc., etc. And that's what you'll get more comfortable with as you pull these fights more and more, and as your group gets more and more comfortable during progression, whether it be LFR, normal, or heroic. If your group's progressing on it, every attempt needs to be a learning experience, saying, oh, well, do I get more damage if I do this? Do I get more damage if I do this? And you're looking at different boss abilities, when you have damage buffs incoming, when there's going to be multiple ads up that you need to kill, you know, just different things like that. And you need to be aware of these things because it is very, very important that you understand the mechanics of the fight. Knowing your encounter will be a huge DPS increase. If you know your stuff and you're learning every pull, you're gonna find yourself on top of those meters, guys. So I hope you like this video, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.